Hello, and welcome to episode 156 of the Casual Try Hard podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm James.
And we've said that for 3 years now.
3 years on the money.
This is the third anniversary of the Casual Try Hard podcast. They said we couldn't do it. We proved them wrong. Whoever they are, we proved them wrong.
I don't think anybody told us we couldn't do it, did they?
I don't know. People say all the time, oh man, they said we couldn't do it. Now look at us. I don't know who they are, but they're always haters.
Yeah.
We proved the haters wrong. Here we
are.
Happy
anniversary, buddy.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
So I should take you out to a nice dinner. So we got asked on Discord for some magic stories. And
we're going to have story time tonight.
We're going to have story time to celebrate 3 years in the podcast game. We're going to talk stories. Some of them you may have heard. Some of them you may not have. I don't even know what the planned stories are. So it's going to be a free-flowing conversation.
Yeah, it's just us telling stories. Well, telling stories to each other, and you guys get to come along for the ride.
So if you would like to contribute ideas for shows, we've still got a few more weeks until Kamigawa Neon Destiny comes out. You can get us on Twitter at CasualTryPod.
Yeah, you can also hit us up on Facebook at CasualTryHardMTG, or you can email us, show@CasualTryHardMTG.com. If you're looking to share any of your own stories, or like Brian said, if you have any other show ideas, let us know. You can also do that in our Discord. There should be a link to join our Discord in the description and on all our social media. So hop on over there. It's probably the quickest way to get a hold of us. There's a room in there for show ideas and, a general room for if you want to share your own magic stories. Also, we would appreciate it if you're looking to pick up any single cards to use our TCG Player affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. Anything you purchase after using that link, we will get a percentage of that help keeps the show going. And if you want to support us a little bit more directly, you can do so at patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg, where patrons get early access to our show notes. I usually post them the day before the show goes live so that you guys have a chance to kind of see what we're going to be doing for that week. I also post up our pre-show ramblings, which have a little bit less magic content, but even more of us, so it's fine. That usually goes up early on in the week, so patrons get access to that. And I put you on my mailing list where I occasionally do random thank yous to our patrons. And you get the benefit of helping to keep the show going. So we really appreciate it. Thanks to all our patrons.
Yes, thank you all.
Yeah. You got any housekeeping stuff before we get into story time?
I don't think. I think that's pretty much everything. Like we said, give us suggestions for shows going forward.
Yeah, that's important. We're in the lull right now, so.
Yes. It's been a very long lull with them pushing back Neon Destiny.
Yeah. Dynasty,
whatever.
Whatever it is.
Whatever. There's going to be 7 cards that we care about, and then that'll be it.
Yeah, probably. And then they're going to change them after 2 months anyway, so. Or after a month.
It'll be like, oops, we didn't playtest this one.
Yeah. Oops.
Oopsie.
All right. So before we start story time, I'm going to start with a story about story time. Is that all right?
Sure, go ahead.
So when I saw this idea for an episode out of our Discord, we had one of our listeners post up asking for magic stories. I thought of a different story about how kind of early on in my return to Magic, I was having a chat with our local game store owner, who I talk to all the time, almost every day. And we were talking about how Magic is kind of a game of stories. Like a whole bunch of different stories, like stories on top of stories. So you have, and I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are drawn to the game. It's not just the lore and it's not just the strategy. It's kind of something that we've both been preaching over the years, is like the friends that you make and the people that you hang out with and the games that you play. Those are all their own kind of story. So you have the lore behind the cards that kind of tells an overarching story of, the game, and then you have the story of like your own personal growth as a player and how, you start with, a Planeswalker pre-con deck off the Walmart shelf and kind of grow into whoever you're going to become as a Magic player. And then you also have stories that the cards tell you while you're playing the game that maybe people don't really think about. I think one of the guys that does lore videos on YouTube for a while was trying to make like thematic decks that would tell a story as you played them, but I don't think it was super popular or did real well.
Oh, what's his name? It was the guy with the mustache minute.
Yeah, the guy with the mustache from TCG Player.
Who left TCG Player?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, what is his name? Anyway.
Yeah, but like as you're playing the game, it's kind of telling a story too. You know what I mean? Like you cast a creature and it gets murdered, or whatever it is, terminated. So the game's kind of full of stories, and I think at the times when the game is the most successful are the times when the stories are the best. The times when the gameplay stories are the best. The times when the coverage stories are the best. The times when like you're traveling to tournaments and having a lot of fun. So just as kind of like a preamble to what we're going to be talking about today is I think that's Magic's strong suit, is the stories. Whether or not you like think of it that way, it's a really important part of the game.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Like that's what kind of ties everyone together is, right? If you are people who play Magic, even if like you drifted apart, like socially, right? Yeah. Or like your lives have diverged, you can always go back to the game as a touchstone to hang out, or like talk about like old stories. Just like, people roll their eyes at the, the guy who's 35 telling like high school football stories.
Yeah.
Right. You can, have people you've played Magic with 10 years ago and be like, oh, remember when like thing happened during a game, right? That's something you can always go back to. Yep. And that goes back to the fact that it's Magic the Gathering, right?
Absolutely.
And the stories come from the Gathering and as a reason to come together.
For sure.
So, all right. So we have so how we first got into the game. So how did you first get into Magic?
So way back when, I don't remember exactly. I can probably figure out exactly how old I was, but I'm pretty sure I was in middle school. And one of my friends had just gotten into D&D. And I went over to his house, and he was, had this little mini campaign prepared, like, just for me to, like, teach me the game or whatever. And, I had fun playing D&D with this guy. And he said, okay, like, if you want to keep doing this, like, I've got a couple other people that want to play, but, like, everyone has to have their own tools to play the game. And he told me about, the character sheets and dice and a player's handbook and all that. So I don't remember if it was that weekend or, like, the next weekend, but the next chance I had, my mom drove me down to a game store in downtown Syracuse, Twilight Book and Game Emporium, and I was going to get my D&D books. Except when I went up to the counter, there was two guys at a table playing Magic right there. And I don't know if it was like them just obviously having a good time, or the artwork on the cards, or the look of like concentration on their faces. Like I could tell it was really strategic. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I do remember instead of buying a player's handbook and a set of dice, I bought a revised starter deck and 2 packs of the dark.
Hard pivot, ladies and gentlemen. Hard pivot.
Yep.
We could be talking the Casual Try Hard Dungeons and Dragons podcast right now.
We could be.
But no.
Fate stepped in.
Intervened and was like, no, I won't let you do that.
That's right.
You've got to play Magic the Gathering. Would you like to have even less money than your average D&D player? Do I have a story for you?
I don't know, man. Like, I've seen some of these D&D players buying minis, and you think we have a bad habit.
Oh, man. My brother has so much stuff. Like, I think he's taken to 3D printing his minis.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people do now.
Yeah, so he's got, like, a 3D printer and, like, makes his own minis.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but, yes, they are expensive. Then you got to paint them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, So, all right. Slightly different story. So when I started playing, it would have been 95. So like Ice Age was like readily available.
Yeah. Ice Age wasn't out when I started. I'm pretty sure it was the Dark was the most recent set.
So like I think like Ice Age and like the Dark and Fallen Empires were like older cards. They weren't like the current cards that were out. Like you could still get them because they were the Dark and Fallen Empires. Yeah. But there was at my high school there was this back hallway. So there was like the lunchroom and there was this hallway that went down past the band room and like ended outside. Right, so there was like a door, there was like the lunchroom, a door, a hallway, a door, another hallway, and then you're outside. So that back hallway, I don't know how we got started, but like some people I knew played Magic. So I started playing with them. Now, we were Catholic, and our priest was on this kick about how Dungeons and Dragons was evil. It was the mid-90s, so like everything was bad.
I mean, it happened, yeah.
It happened, right? So, Magic cards weren't a high on the approved list.
Right.
So, like, I got cards and, like, hid them.
Ooh.
And would sit in my room on the floor with the door closed and, like, sort cards and go through them and stuff. All right. I don't know how well I was hiding them, but I was hiding them, right? And there was a game store, I forget what it was called. I only went in it a few times. That was like down by the library, down from like my high school. So if like I had a reason to go to the library, I could swing in there and get stuff. But I don't think I went in there a few times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how I ended up getting the cards I got. But yeah, I just had cards that I like hid and had decks. I played Alliances was out, so I know I played like I remember playing like Blue White Control with like my win con being Caldoran Outpost.
Oh yeah, that's a good win con.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that, just playing like games it would take like all lunch period. We just sit on the floor and play at the end of the hallway, glass beads and all.
Yep.
Right. So, but like I had to kind of hide it initially. I think eventually, like I know eventually it was not as big a deal.
Yeah.
And I played through. Oh gosh, when? Oh gosh, like my freshman or sophomore year in college, and then I stopped.
Oh, I stopped way before that. I remember the last thing that I did was collect a full set of Visions. And it was while Visions was still in print.
You know, it's crazy. I did the exact same thing. I had a full set of Visions.
Yeah.
I am missing like a handful of cards from having reassembled the full set of Visions.
Yeah, like, I think I went through and sold a bunch of stuff out of that set when I got back into the game to kind of fund my re-entry.
Yeah. Yeah, like when I went to grad school, I didn't realize how much, like, because I just had the cards and kept moving them. And I was going to have to move to Atlanta, and I sold, like, my whole collection for, like, $500, which was not enough in retrospect. Because I had a full set of dual lands.
Yeah.
Plus a full set of cradles. Like every rare land I just had a bunch of. And I sold them, and I was like super thrilled to get $500. I was like, maybe I should have sold it for more, but I used that to move from Pittsburgh to Atlanta when I got my postdoc. And then like 8 years later or something, maybe not even that long, I was like, I'm going to play Magic again.
Yep.
I wish I hadn't sold 6 years. I was like, I wish I hadn't sold those cards.
My break was much longer than that.
So, no, I'll take that back. My break was like 10 years, but between selling my cards...
Oh, I gotcha.
Or like 12 years, but between selling my cards and playing again...
Yeah.
Was only like 6 years or 7 years.
Yeah, I think my break was almost 20 years. Because I stopped at Visions, which would have been like 96, maybe? 95, 96? 96?
Mm-hmm.
And then I got back in like I'm 14 Theros, so that would have been like 2015.
Yeah, so I played through, like I played into my freshman year of college, so 99. So I played all through high school.
Yeah.
Then in 99, like the people I played with, I didn't see anymore because I went to college, and like the people that did play that I ran into at college, I deemed weird. So these people are weird. I don't enjoy interacting with them. So I stopped playing. And then when I went to grad school, I was like, oh, I'll try to find a place to play again. And like it did not work out with like where like Wizards Event Locator or whatever was the thing at the time told me there was Magic versus like where I could actually get to as a grad student. So I think I like played like one event, like one F&M, like on like in like 2008,
mm-hmm.
and then didn't play again. So I played like 2001. Then I like played like one event and like one event in like 2002.
Yeah,
sorry, 99. Then like one event in 2002, and then didn't play again until M15 was getting like Thuris was getting ready to rotate.
Yeah,
so it would have right before cons. So about a year after you came back.
Yeah,
so
I think it was about a year.
Yeah, so like 99, stopped, tried again in like 2002, still didn't take. Sold my cards in 2008, came back in 2014, because it was right after I got married.
Yeah. So you had mentioned something about like not remembering how you got cards.
Yes.
I actually have kind of a couple quick cool stories about getting cards when I was young.
Okay.
So I grew up in a suburb of Syracuse, and I was like way outside city limits of the suburb that I was in. So I was like in the middle of nowhere. There was way on the outside of town. Almost like bordering the next town over. So there wasn't a whole lot around where I lived. And we lived on a pretty busy road. So it wasn't super easy for us to like get out of the house. And I was in kind of a big family. Like I got 2 sisters and a brother, and we're all fairly close in age. So in order for us to like go to the store, like they had to pack everybody up, and it was like a big thing. So really didn't get away from the house too much. But I would say maybe 800 foot from our driveway, you know, kind of down the road to the end of the street. And then like that was a pretty busy road, but then maybe 800 foot on that road was the entrance to a park, like a county park or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like super nice. And it was the like paved trail for this park was the whole length of the lake. So it was like 8 miles long. So if I could get on my bike and go to the park, like I had the whole length of the park that I could, you know, do whatever I wanted. And it was, you know, safe. There wasn't going to get run over by a car or whatever. So I remember one of the ways I used to get cards was at the far other end of the park. You'd have to leave the park, but like 2 blocks outside the park, there was a comic book store that was like second story of some building. So I remember saving my lunch money up all week long, telling my mom that I was going to ride my bike in the park, haul ass as fast as I can, like all the way clear down to the other end of the park, jump back out, run into the comic book store, run upstairs, buy a couple packs of cards, get back on my bike, haul ass back up, 8 miles again on my bike, and then get home. That was one of the ways I used to get cards. It's called dedication.
Dedication, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now you couldn't do that because everyone would be afraid that you would get kidnapped if you got out of the side of their front porch.
Yeah, exactly. Do kids still have bikes?
I'm going to go with yes, because they still sell them at Target. So I assume someone's buying them.
Maybe.
But my kid kind of has a bike. So he can't pedal it, but he kind of has a bike.
Yeah. So one more story about getting cards, and this one's a little bit quicker. One of the supermarkets near my house wasn't the one that we went to all the time, but like if my mom was running out and needed something, it was like if we were driving past this place and needed something, we'd stop in. But they had a bunch of vending machines in the front of the store, and inside one of the vending machines was magic packs.
Oh.
Yeah, so I remember every time we'd go in there, I'd bug my mom until she got me a pack of cards out of the vending machine.
That would have been better use. I remember collecting like stickers. They used to have these they used to have these books that like you'd buy like books, and then you would buy packs of stickers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you would randomly get stickers, and you would put the stickers in the books to make bigger pictures. It was like baseball players and stuff. It was kind of like baseball cards. I remember doing those, and like those were the things that like, hey man, can I get a fix? Can I get a little bit? Can I get my fix? And they'd be like, so that would be my thing. I remember when I was younger.
Yeah.
I think the pre-Magic days, but yeah, it's. But yeah, I don't remember how I ended up with cards. I just know that I did.
Yeah.
But I don't know what begging, borrowing, and stealing I did to end up with those cards. I just know that, like, yes, I have cards.
Yeah. You also mentioned briefly about how Magic in some places was kind of taboo, like in the early days.
Yeah.
Not when I first started playing, but like shortly before I exited the game, like for my break or whatever, I remember like going to a bunch of tournaments. Like I would go to a tournament somewhere every weekend. And one of the places where we used to play was a church. There was a church that used to hold Saturday evening Magic tournaments.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was like in their Bible study hall or whatever. There was, I don't know, 15, 20 people would show up and play Magic.
That was not what we were about at my establishment.
Yep.
They were like, yeah, about that. And I was like, okay. That's a no-go? It's a no-go. Check. No-go. Yeah, so that's how I got started. And then you kind of get a little timeline. Played for a few years, then went away, tried to come back, bounced off.
Yep.
And then came
just
back.
To provide some context here, do you, not that probably most of our listeners are going to, have lived through this anyway, but do you remember like getting any sort of content from the internet about Magic? Like in the early days?
No, none whatsoever. I remember like magazines and stuff.
Inquest and Scry?
Yeah. But
Duelist?
Yeah, but no, I never, no internet content that I ever remembered.
Yeah, there were bulletin boards that did Magic content. There were some on AOL, and there were some, I don't remember what the other bulletin board site was. It was so long ago. It doesn't matter, but there were some online, and I think one of the bulletin boards from the place that wasn't AOL was what turned into the source, MTG the source, which was like a huge, big deal, like an early Magic for strategy and deck lists and that kind of thing. What made me think of this is you mentioned alliances. Do you remember the alliances like set release?
Vaguely, like when I played, like I didn't play like at a local game store, so it was just
Okay.
like I was like the unwashed, unheard masses of not so much kitchen table magic, but
Yeah.
like hallway
Lunchroom
floor
table.
magic,
Yeah.
and like playing on the concrete outside of the school. So
A little
I
bit of spaghetti on your force of nature.
yeah, I know that was Balduvian Horde was like the card,
Yeah.
but I don't like I never had any hype around stuff.
So the reason I brought up alliances in particular is because I'm almost positive it was alliances, but before the set released, somebody had posted up the God book
Yeah, yeah.
on one of the bulletin boards. And I remember like I went and I printed out like on a dot matrix printer or whatever the God book so that I could, flip through the pages and look at all the cards before they were released.
So I do regret I had a card that like I got because I thought it was super neat and really cool, and I ended up getting rid of it like years later. But I remember I like the card I really wanted was an Argivian Archaeologist,
Oh.
and I think I traded it for store credit to buy a shirt that I still have. I think it has
At least you still have the shirt.
I think it has migrated to Hannah's closet.
Yeah.
But it was Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy from Batman the Animated Series, like hugging.
Yeah.
But I had an Argivian Archaeologist for like years, and then I think I traded it for that stupid shirt, and now that that card is I just checked $180.
Is that the only like old expensive card that you had?
Well, I mentioned I had a playset of all the revised duels,
Yeah.
a playset of all the Saga lands.
Did you ever end up with any like power?
No, I never had any power.
Yeah, I had an emerald for a portion of time when I was, I don't know, I must have been 13 or 14 years old.
Yeah, I never had power because, like I said, I think I started like a year or two after you.
Yeah.
So, like even then, like, but like when you're like 14 without a job,
Yeah.
right? Like the fact that like a Black Lotus is like $30 is like ridiculous. I remember like
the emerald I had was super beat up. It would be bad by today's standards.
yeah. Well, I remember buying my duels for $20 a piece.
Yeah, no, I remember duels being cheap. I think I traded for my emerald though. I want to say I traded like 2 Force of Wills and a Jester's Cap.
Jester's Cap was awesome.
It was, yeah.
I mean, that is still a good trade. I mean, it might not have been a good trade then, but it was a good trade now.
Yeah.
You would been up big.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think I ended up trading the Mox for an Ollie from Cairo.
Not as good a trade, but still. Ollie from Cairo was also one of those cards that
It was, yeah. That was
like,
a heavy
oh
hitter
man,
way
this
back
card's
when.
so good. Like, what am I supposed to do with it? Like,
Yeah.
what can I do about it? It was just one of those cards where you're just like, oh man, that card's super good.
Yeah. And then I think I traded the Ollie from Cairo for a Mirror Universe.
Yeah, you were dealing in some a different caliber of card than I. Like, Like, I remember playing City of Shadows, which is now like $100 card. Like, I played that card like seriously
Yeah.
and stuff. I was like, oh, City of Shadows, let's go. Card's awful,
Yeah.
but
Very, very, very bad.
what is it? It's like you tap and sack your creature and put like a charge counter on it or something. And then you can remove the charge counters
like
to make
that.
mana.
I know you have to sacrifice creatures. I don't remember what it does with them.
Yes, you like feed it creatures. You got a City of Shadows is a common enough title of things that we're gonna get
type
the
MTG after it.
Yeah, you gotta type in MTG. Okay, here we go. I think this is the okay. Tap. Sacrifice one of your creatures, but remove it from the game instead of placing it in your graveyard. Put a counter on City of Shadows. Tap. Add X colorless mana to your mana pool where X is the number of counters on City of Shadows. Moderately played $50.
Yep.
And its price is basically a straight line up since October. Wild.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
$100.
Like all of my old duels, I mean, at least you sold yours. Mine disappeared.
Okay.
At one point, I think after I graduated high school, but before I was in college, like a friend of a friend, I think I was like staying at my buddy's house for a while, and I think it was his cousin was also living there, and he was interested in the game, so I taught him how to play, and I think like I let him borrow one of my decks, and then just like never thought to get it back.
Oops.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that deck had Savannas, Trops, and Tundras in it.
Oof.
Yeah.
No good. No good at all.
Yep.
Very much sad.
So I don't think I have anything else. I mean, I'm sure I have other stories about like tournaments and stuff, but do you want to talk a little bit about like what got you back into the game, or why you got back into the game?
Sure. So my wife will say that it was I tricked her, which fair, because I hadn't played Magic while we were dating, and we had dated for a very long time.
Yeah.
6 years, no Magics. And I had downloaded whatever Duels of the Planeswalkers thing on my iPad.
Mm-hmm.
Basically how I play Magic now, but it was only against like, the computer AI, right? And I was playing, it's like, oh, this is a lot of fun. To the point where I took my iPad on our honeymoon cruise and played
Duels of the Planeswalkers?
Duels of the Planeswalkers or whatever it was on my iPad during our honeymoon. Like, she'd be sitting and reading a book. I'd be playing Magic. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is fun. Like, I should go try to find a place to play.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I was like, I can figure something out. And so I went to, again, like Wizards Event Locator or like Store Locator or whatever. And White Widow Games came up, which was like right by my house.
Yep.
And I went over on a Sunday in the summer, like in like late July, early August.
Mm-hmm.
And they were playing Smash Brothers. And the store was full of people playing Smash Brothers. And if you guys know hardcore Smash Brothers players, they only play on CRT TVs. Because there's no refresh rate, so like you can see what's going on like milliseconds faster.
Yeah.
And so the entire store was full of CRT TVs and people playing Smash, and it was when the store had no air conditioning.
Oh, man.
Because it was in the building across from Soundcloud High School.
Yeah.
And it just smelled of disgusting nerd.
Yeah.
And in classic game store fashion, I went in and looked around and looked at stuff and could not, for the life of me, figure out how to participate in commerce at the store. There was no one behind the counter. There was no one who looked like they worked there. There was nothing. I called my wife on the way home. I was like, I have no idea how to participate in commerce here. I have no idea how I could give anyone legal U.S. tender to get goods or services. No clue. So I ended up going back later when I was like, well, maybe Sunday is just a bad day. So I went back another time and was able to figure stuff out and go from there. But that first time I was like, ugh, I don't know what's going on. And then I forget when I went in, but I went in and we'll leave off names, but there was a certain group of players who look very intimidating.
Okay.
Lots of tattoos and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, holy crap, nerds got hard. This is not the nerds I remember. I was like, the nerds got hard. Geez, oh man. This is tough. I don't know about this. This is rough and tumble.
What's crazy is they're all super nice guys.
Yeah. Yeah, but first pass.
First impressions, yeah.
You're just like, huh, well, I mean, you say that, and not to say they're not nice guys, but you do know, again, loyal listener, you better be a loyal listener, Anthony's story about playing his first event at the old White Widow Games.
Oh, I don't know. Do I know this story?
You do, I think. So he had been playing in California, and he moved from California to here, and he was looking for some way to get back into Magic / use it as a way to find friends, because he moved all the way across the country. Mm-hmm. So he goes and he does a draft, I think it was a draft, and he's sitting down playing at someone. He's trying to make small talk.
Yeah.
And he's like, so, what do you do for your living? And his hard nerd opponent looks at him, dead straight face, looks at me and goes, I sell drugs. And 100%, that's what the guy's job that's what it was. Yep. And Anthony was like, crap, should I be here? This does not seem like perhaps the place I should be hanging out right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was at that point I think I'd been
doesn't mean
there.
He's not a nice guy though.
No, I'm not saying that he was a nice guy. Which I tried to specify earlier. Yeah. But it's just the impression and the vibe, you're just oh, this is way more rough and tumble than I was envisioning. Yeah. But I think at that point I'd been going there for a year, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think somewhere around in there. Because I think at that point it was Battle for Zendikar draft is when he came.
Yeah.
So you go in there for
I guess Cons was right, or BFC was right after Cons, wasn't it?
Yep. So the simpler times of a year was an entire block.
Right.
As opposed to hey, you just learned these characters and mechanics. Deuces, we out. We out. Exactly. We're gonna make double-faced cards, so that'll be the theme for the year. What do you think about that? Does that really tie in the room together? It is not a rug. No, it does not tie the room together. But yeah, so I came back and it was a different scene initially than what I had left or expected. Mm-hmm. And then I found some people that were more I don't know, more my speed.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
I mean, those guys are fine, but just we do not mesh.
Yeah.
So, But yeah, so I came. So that's what I came back. I came back to a unair conditioned, sweaty smelling store where people were playing Smash Brothers.
Yeah, that was rough towards the end before that store
went away.
wasn't. Yeah. Yeah, bad times.
Bad times.
So when I came back into the game was kind of a fluke. Like, I think when we were talking to Brad, I mentioned that during one of my back surgeries, I had randomly downloaded like Magic Online and was playing some Pauper.
Mm-hmm.
I don't count that as a return to the game though, because I mean that was like a 2 or 3 week thing that I did while I was recuperating from surgery. My like actual return to the game was, I think, like Theros was just coming out, and I used to have like my own shop that I rented, like separate from work, just like a place to store my cars and projects and parts and whatever. And I was working on a car super late one night with one of my buddies, and I needed a bolt for, I don't even remember what we were doing. I think I was finishing up a motor swap in a Jetta, and I needed a bolt to hold the exhaust together. And for whatever reason, I couldn't find one in my toolbox or in my parts or whatever that would work. And it was like midnight, and I really wanted to hear this car fire up before like I was done for the day or for the night. So the only place that's open at midnight that may or may not have a bolt is Walmart, because they have that like hardware section or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my buddy hop in this car and we drive down to Walmart and find a bolt that we think will work. And we're getting ready to check out in like super late night at Walmart. I think this was before self-checkout lanes, or before they were like super widespread. The only lanes that are open are like at the very end where like the magic cards used to be. So we're in the checkout line to buy this, dollar bolt or whatever. And he turns to me and says, "Oh, magic cards. I used to buy some of them when I was a kid, but none of my friends knew how to play Magic, so nobody ever taught me how to play." And I was like, no shit. Like, I have a whole bunch of Magic cards, and I remember how to play. So we each bought I don't remember if they were Planeswalker decks or like the dual decks or whatever. They're probably Planeswalker decks. No. Was there something before Planeswalker decks?
They were like the deck there. You could buy a box that had 2, like Jace versus whoever, Kiera versus Elspeth.
They weren't dual decks. No. Whatever they were. We bought 2 of them in a couple packs and spent the next like 3 hours back at my shop learning how to play Magic on the concrete floor.
Did that car start up?
Not that night. We were playing Magic.
You got sidetracked. Poor car.
Yeah, we got sidetracked. Eventually it did. I drove that car for a while, but yeah, we were playing Magic. And then probably like a week or 2 later, I think we had like run the course with the 2 whatever decks, the intro decks or whatever that we had, and we're looking to expand them. So we went down, or we found, Googled game stores or whatever, and found White Widow. And again, like super late after having worked in my shop, after having worked at work all day, I think it was like 11:30 or 11 or 11:30, we showed up to White Widow Games because they were open somehow. And there was like 1 million people in there playing Magic.
So, in their defense, if they were open somehow, the hours printed on the door was an open time, and then usually like when the last life point goes away, or when the dice are done rolling. Yeah. So like they were just, how many times did like we even, like, on a weekend, just stay there till, like, 5 or 6 in the morning.
Oh, yeah, way too many times.
How many people had, like, a key to lock the shop up at the end of the night?
Way too many.
Where the shop owner would just be like, I'm going home. And would, like, look around and be like, you have a key, right? Or, you know the security code. Lock up when you're done. And would leave.
Yep.
And to think, they only got robbed once.
Only once. Crazy to think about.
So, yeah, so,
I mean,
like,
just for, like, somebody that didn't know the store, though, it was really weird that they were open so late and that there were so many people there.
Oh, yeah. Like, it made zero sense. And even, like, when you knew the store, the fact that it was like 11:30 or 12:30 and you were, like, making a Taco Bell run so you could, like, play the next 4 rounds.
Yep.
And you're just like, well, I'm not going home till 6. And then the next event's at noon.
Yep.
So I guess I'll get 4 hours of sleep in Raleigh. Yeah. No, I definitely can't do that. Like, I stopped doing the overnight one because there was a direct correlation to me, like, getting sick and me getting, like, 4 hours of sleep 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
Right? But, like, I am a hopeful that we come back to a point where, like, I can, like, go and be like, all right, it's release weekend. You've got the kid. I'm going to, like, play at noon, and then I'm going to play at, like, 6.
Yeah.
And I'll play at noon and, like, 8 on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I look forward to that being a thing that can happen again.
Hopefully.
Yeah, because I think that, like, at least, like, the pre-release hype is never going to go away. Like, the number of people that, like, never played but would, like, show up on pre-release or, like, would, there was a guy who, like, was, like, a graphic artist, and his studio, or, like, where he would go to work, he was, like, self-employed, was the condo on the 3rd floor of my building.
Yeah.
Or the next building over. And I would see him outside my house sometimes and say hi. But the only times he'd ever come to the store, he'd bring his son, and they would do pre-release.
Yeah.
And they would do, like, 3 or 4 pre-releases, and then they were done with Magic for 3 months. And then they'd come back in 3 months, and they would play again.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of people that you only ever saw for pre-release.
And, like, I don't know, like, that's kind of cool. That was something that, like, they just, like, could count on to be like, oh, hey, it's pre-release time. We're going to go do pre-release.
Yep.
That'll be fun.
Yep.
So, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, so that was our getting back into the... that was our getting back into the game. Yours was a little more, like, spur-of-the-moment, spontaneous. Mine was a direct ploy from Chad's predecessor.
Yeah, it was very spur of the moment, and probably wouldn't have even happened if there weren't, like, products in big box stores, which is kind of a weird thing to say given my view on things currently. But
your view on products in big box stores?
Yeah.
I mean, are there still products in big box stores since people were, like, jumping each other for Pokemon cards? And no, there's still Magic cards.
Yeah, there's still Magic cards.
Yeah, because I went by and I was like, oh, there's Magic cards here. Neat.
Yeah.
Did not buy any. Suck it, Chad. But,
yeah.
Bro, get you on Arena, bro. Don't worry.
That's right. We'll get your beans.
Yeah. So what were other requested stories here?
Well, I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to share, either from the game store, like the store itself, or any traveling stories. I think we've told a lot of our traveling stories already.
But
I don't know if there's any of those that you wanted to rehash, or...
Speaking of Arena and, like, the gathering part and, like, seeing people, I think I've talked about how Anthony and I became friends.
Mm-hmm.
So it was I do believe, again, it was like BFZ.
Mm-hmm.
It was like his second time in the store, and he does a draft, and for some reason he was like, I think this guy knows how to, like, seems pretty good.
Yeah.
And, like, came over and asked me to help him with his deck. And I, like, laid out his deck and, like, we rebuilt it and we talked through stuff. And then he just kind of followed me around and, like, was just kind of like, and he'll admit this, and he's like, yeah, I just followed you around. But, like, then he was like, I'd go talk to Cameron, and he was just, like, on the periphery, right? And he just slowly, over the course of that night and, like, additional days, like, became, like, integrated as, like, part of the group. And,
part
like,
of the
that
crew.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen unless, like, one, like, at the store, two, him being like, oh, I'll see if this guy will help me with my deck, and like me being willing to be like, oh yeah, here's what you should try to do, right? So like that is an aspect that you definitely lose on Arena.
Oh, for sure.
There's not like a combination of of emotes that like allows your opponent to like look at your deck and make changes.
Right, definitely not.
And that's also like why Limited is so good.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there is the collection building aspect of Limited, but more like I like doing Limited initially when I got back. So when I got back first, I played like red-green land destruction with creeping mold.
Oh, dude.
Not
an Ember Swallower?
I don't know if I had that card.
Because like, I played land destruction with Ember Swallower and Xenagod. Or no, Xenagos Planeswalker.
So I did not. I was trying not to spend too much money on Magic. So I was like, I don't want to get too many cards that are going to rotate.
Yeah.
And so, because like I was doing that and like just getting stomped, I was like, why is this not good anymore? It's before I realized they were anti-blowing up lands, and the difference between Stone Rain and Creeping Mold is infinite.
Right.
But I was like, I don't want to spend a whole lot, so I was playing that. And I kind of realized, like, well, I don't have as big a collection as a lot of people, and I don't want to put a lot of money into it now, right? Because it's, like, almost rotation.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I'm just going to draft because we all start at, like, 0. We have the same collection, right? And, like, drafting is something I can improve at. And so that's why for, like, years and years and years, I was a drafter at F&M.
Yeah.
Right? And then only towards the end did I, like, kind of go back and forth, / like, mainly I started playing more Constructed. But that was mainly because, like, I was very much like, there's a thing I want to do good at.
Yeah.
So I need to learn how to play this deck. But, like, I would go in, like, on Saturdays, because I always did, like, a Saturday draft. I'd go do the Saturday draft. And stuff. Like, I have so many cons.
We used to draft,
cards.
like, every day.
I have so many cons cards because cons being, like, the best draft format in the last, like, decade.
Right.
Or I guess the only one I haven't played extensively is Innistrad. And I guess Innistrad might fall in the decade. Maybe.
Yeah, probably. That was probably like just 2012.
Right at the very end. So like somewhere like Cons, Innistrad, like Dominaria. Right? Like Cons is like up there. And would draft at F&M, then would draft at midnight, then would come back the next night and draft at 7, and then draft at midnight, and that would be my weekend. Like, I would get 4 drafts in every weekend.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, and then, like, I would draft during the week, too, if they had, like, drafts during the week. Like, being the, when there would be, invitation only events, that was always fun.
Yep.
When it was like, are you in the messenger group chat? Congratulations, there's an event happening.
I remember when I got invited to the messenger chat.
Yeah, it's a big deal. You're like, oh yeah.
I had to like work my way up into it.
Yeah, it's like,
I I think Chase was the one that invited me. He's
Okay.
like, "Oh, you brewed that deck all on your own? It looks like you're getting pretty good. Why don't you enter this group chat?"
Yeah.
Ooh, what's this?
Ooh.
There's
Awesome.
other events? What do you mean?
There's other things going on?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember. So, I was convinced, and still am, that Savage Knuckleblade is good. They also, on Arena Decklist this week, they tell a story about Savage Knuckleblade.
Oh yeah.
Because
The Nux.
it was in a Pioneer decklist that went
really?
5-0. Yeah.
Wow.
It's like Big Nux was there, right? And so I went to my parents' house up in Cleveland, and they had a Magic store right down the road from them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had like a Saturday afternoon tournament, so I went. And it was it was Cons and Theros standard.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and I played a teamer deck. Sirach Dragonclaw, right, the Flash guy.
Yeah.
And Knuckleblade. And I was playing was it Tranquility? What is the...
Back to nature? Destroy all enchantments?
Yes, Back to Nature.
Yeah.
And, just wrecked someone, blew up 3 coursers or something, and all these, artifact enchantment creatures, to the point where, he called people over and was like, oh my god, this guy's deck's amazing. And I was just like, yeah, it is. That's right. He's like, where did you find this? I'm like, I made it. How? This is so... I was like, well, you see, you understand what the metagame is. You only play Jermoka's command, when it's always a 2-for-1.
Right.
Or you sideboard in Back to Nature, and you annihilate your opponent's 4 enchantment creatures. It's great. It's a one-sided wrath. It's amazing. I'm very good at this. But just that being the guy who just rolled in on a Saturday and just left
Ruined
with
somebody's day.
But won the tournament, left with all the stuffs.
Yeah.
Now there's equally days I did some pre-releases by Hannah's where I was 0-3 and I was just like, can I have my pity pack so I can leave now? I need to go. This is bad. I don't want to be here. But yeah, I used to drive to random places and play tournaments. Just oh, Hannah's got class today or is studying all night or all day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do pre-release in random plaza in outside of Hershey, Pennsylvania, or looking for cards and So there was a glorious time, people. Picture it. I don't know, 2013, 14, 15, somewhere in there. Right? Mm-hmm. Where not every store had their collection linked to Crystal Commerce.
Oh, yeah.
And you could go into stores... And, it was worth you just walking into a random store because they might have a dual land for $40.
Yep.
Right?
Because nobody knew what it was worth.
Yeah. I would go into, weird hobby stores that, somehow Wizards said they, sold Magic products.
Yeah.
And, they had singles that were, from Homelands. Just, unsorted, just, sitting there. And you're just weird. Okay, how are you still on their website? But okay. I went to a train store in some rural Pennsylvania town, and they just had some unsorted Homelands cards and some packs. And it was just weird. But it was there was this ability you could go into a store and find a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was worth going in someplace because you never knew what they had or what they thought it was going to be worth.
Yeah.
Right? And now that's gone.
The internet ruined that.
Yeah. That hole in the market has been filled. But
So going like one step back further than that, before you came back to the game, so the first time you were playing the game, do you remember the mailing lists?
no.
So, like, internet commerce was not a thing. You couldn't buy or sell anything on the internet. So, one of the early ways to get singles was to be on a mailing list. So you had to like get the advertisement from like your Inquest or Scry or whatever magazine and fill out a card and mail it into a company. And then I think it was quarterly, the company would send you like 12 pages of paper with cards and prices on them. And you would like mark off which cards you wanted to purchase and then mail this thing back to them with a check. And then hopefully at some point they would send cards to you. You don't remember this?
No, I love the hopefully maybe at some point aspect of it.
Yeah.
Right? That's how things were back in the day. So Brian Gottlieb just told a story that like he was on some like early internet message board where like you would like match with people and like trade them cards. So kind of like a card sphere or like a Puka trade, God rest its soul. But with like no infrastructure, right? Basically just Craigslist. And he was like, yeah, I sent like these cards that were like the most valuable in my collection to get stuff. Nothing ever came back.
Yeah.
And that's how stuff worked. You were just like, well, I hope I get these cards.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my check in a signed, self-addressed, stamped envelope. Right?
I'm trying to see if anybody hasn't uploaded one of those old. I don't even remember what the name of the company was. There was a couple different companies that did them.
But yeah, you're just like, I hope this comes back.
Yeah.
This is only a little shady, but we're doing it.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I
don't think I could ever convince my mom to do that for me.
No.
I don't think I ever ordered anything, but
no, that was definitely not something that I had ever seen. But I mean, not surprising. Like the first person who started like legitimately selling Magic cards is doing all right for themselves. Like the single sellers, but like that's what's different, right? Like
yeah,
the idea of like a metagame was so much more like small than it is now, right? Like your metagame was like the 12 other people in your town that played Magic.
Yep.
And like what cards they happen to own. Right? Like basically. not like, you know, this thing now where you're just like, well, I need 4 of this card for this deck, and it shows up at your house. It was
even like when I had gotten back into the game like during Theros, I don't think ordering stuff on the internet was like as easy as it is now, or there were so many different buyers. Like I know Star City and Channel Fireball were around, but I don't think it was as common to order from them as like it is now. I remember like going to either White Widow or what was the comic book store? One of the comic book stores had some singles.
There was K&K.
Yeah, and K&K had some singles. But I remember trying to put a deck together and like having to run around to 2 or 3 different stores in between like work and FNM to like try and get a deck together.
Yeah, no, totally. Well, I think that like it was just, I don't know, like it seems like it should have been there, but like I would say 5-6 years ago, yeah, it's about the right time frame. Magic was a trading card game.
Oh yeah, very much so.
When is the last time, like the last 2 years notwithstanding, that like people actually traded cards? Like some Commander players will do it because they like just have binders on binders, but like you show someone your binder of all like your standard rares.
Yeah.
They're all effectively bulk. No one wants
Yeah.
any of them.
Basically.
Like, very rarely do cards get traded for one another.
Yeah.
Right?
I wasn't like ever really into like you did a lot more trading than I did.
Yeah, but like it just like the idea of trading, it was like everyone just like buys the singles that they need
Yeah.
and then doesn't trade anything.
Right.
Right? It's just like, nope, don't do that thing. Right? Like our illustrious barber extraordinaire, Tom would just talk about how like when the set would come out, he would buy all the cards he wanted, and then a bunch of packages would show up at his house,
Yep.
and that was all the cards he needed from the set. Done.
Yep.
And so, like, that aspect of, like, oh, I opened this card and I don't need it, I will trade it to you for this other card, like, went away. Also, like, way back in the day, right, it was like, you have a rare, I have a rare. You want my rare, I want your rare. Let us trade rares.
Well, I mean, like way back in the day, you didn't even know what was rare or not.
True. But, like, you would, like, trade for rarity, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, you know, it's like, well, this card is $4.52, and I've got $4.50 worth of value. I need to find a 2-cent card from you.
Yeah.
So just, no.
Just trade.
Just here are 2 pennies. You will drop these and not think about them. Can we just stop?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like that, like kind of the pure, like, oh, hey, your card's cool and you think my card's cool. We should switch ownership of them. Right? It's a much more like, you know, scientific or like, again, the fun has been squeezed out of it process.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember like going and like getting cards and like trading them. Or do you remember the when Sorin Solemn Visitor happened?
Yes.
So when Cons came out, there were 2 planeswalkers. There was Sarkin, is it Dragon Caller? Or
Dragon something, yeah.
Dragon something. And Sorin Solemn Visitor.
Dragon Speaker?
Yeah, something. So everyone was like, oh man, Sarkin's amazing. It's like 5 mana. It turns into like a 4/4 dragon and like beats down. It was like $30 for pre-release. And Sorin was like $10 or something. And then we played pre-release.
Right.
And everyone quickly realized that Sorin was great.
Yeah.
And Sorin went to like $40 or $50 for like a standard mythic in 2014, 2015. So like a reasonable amount of money, right? Like it just like those like wild swings, like we don't see those anymore. Where like people like just misread a card and then like are like, oh no, this is great. This is really super duper duper good.
What about like Grace Friend's Prodigy?
Yeah, like
during pre-release that card was sub $10.
Yeah, and it went to like 80.
It was over 100 for a little bit.
Yeah, it was like the only thing to do in standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like that happens less now.
Yeah. Do you remember one more for you? Do you remember Wingmate Rock?
Oh yeah, I don't remember like what it did price wise, but I just remember it was like no one cared about it, and then it was like, wait a minute, it's always 2, 3, 4 flyers for 4?
For 5.
For 5? Okay.
Yeah.
Now it'd be for 4.
I mean, now would be for 4 and unplayable.
Yeah. 2, 3, 4 flyers. Get out of here.
That's not enough. Where's my extra turn?
I need 2 flyers and the chance to attack with them, please. Thank you. But yeah, like Wingmate Rock, just like no one read that card as like this is good, and then it just like that doesn't happen very often now. Like way less than I think it used to.
Yeah,
where like a card just gets missed.
Yep. I remember trading my Wingmate rocks for fetch lands.
I mean, that turned out okay in the long term.
Oh yeah, no, it turned out great in the long term, but
I traded my fetch lands recently for Mox Diamonds.
worked out all right for you too then.
Worked out all right.
Yeah.
Worked out all right. But I had so many fetch lands from like playing Infinite Cons. I think I had like 8 or 12 of every fetch land.
Jeez.
Yeah. We had a lot of fetch lands from Infinite Cons drafts. Good old days. People being like, when the fetch lands were like $15, just like greedily taking as many as they could get.
Yeah.
Like, they're only $15. Oh my god, I gotta get as many of these as I can.
Well, what's crazy is, like, I guess I didn't even realize it at the time because I was still pretty new to the game and, like, Modern was the last thing on my mind, but those fetches weren't legal in Modern until then.
Yeah.
Like, the entirety of me playing in Modern, we've had access to all 10 fetches. But
which
there was
not that way for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like the fast lands, right? We didn't have access to the fast lands.
Yeah.
To the other half of fast lands until Kaladesh.
Yep.
Right, and you just take that for granted. Kids these days don't know what it was like.
They don't know the struggle.
They do not. It's like, oh yeah.
Not having perfect mana every game.
Yeah. Getting to play cards over 3 mana. What is that like?
That's right.
Or over 2 mana. Come on now. Not in this economy. It's all lures all the time.
Yeah, right. Do you remember the first big event that you went to?
It was I do believe it was a GP Charlotte.
It was GP Charlotte?
GP Charlotte, and I played Burn. I played against the Mirror. Mm-hmm. And I think I brought in Leyline of Sanctity, and he brought in Leyline of Punishment.
Oh.
Which was just weird. I distinctly remember in, like, the bad bracket, I think it was this GP Charlotte, playing against, like, a very attractive girl who was wearing, like, half a shirt. And, like, have, like, an entourage with her. Like, she had, like, sycophants, and, like, we played, and I was just like,
does she have an OnlyFans?
She would now. She would now. She'd be like, she'd have a fully foiled out deck on the back of like feet picks or something. Like that's the. I made a joke in an email to my students. I was like, about how 2022 already started off great, and I was like, oh yeah, in by April the entire economy will be based on JPEGs of monkeys. Because whatever the ape NFTs are, right? That like, yeah, right. Maybe the entire economy is just based on JPEGs of feet. Then I just don't know yet. But yeah, like she would have a following and like 3,000 downloads on her podcast every week.
Yeah,
she'd be doing all right for herself. But I remember that. I think that was the first big one. I do believe it was a GP back when like GPs came to North Carolina,
right? In the way before times.
The way before times, yes.
Yeah. The first big event I remember, I think, was an SCG Open. I don't think it was a
maybe it wasn't open because I think
it was a Modern Open.
It was definitely I played Mono Red Burn and I played Burn in Modern.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it was really like my first foray into Modern. I had put Elves together, and maybe only played it like 2 Modern nights before we went to the tournament, so I really hadn't played Modern at all. I had learned a little bit about the format from watching some coverage, but like that was even before I was like really part of like our team or whatever. And I got dumpstered 2 rounds in a row by Ad Nauseam, and I didn't know how that deck worked. And after losing like so badly the first 2 rounds, I had gone up to, I think it was like Cameron and Bowman and like all you guys, and was talking about how I lost to Adnaz, but I didn't understand how I lost. And the reason I didn't understand how I lost is because both of my round 1 and 2 opponents played the combo wrong. And that's why it wasn't making sense to me. They had both basically like cheated the win.
Nice.
Yeah.
Welcome to competitive Magic, boys and girls.
Yeah, welcome to Modern. And like I didn't know any better, so I just said, "All right, you got it." And
they were like, score.
Yeah. But then I came in 11th in the Standard Classic the next day and won some lilies to build Jund, so.
There you go.
Yep.
I definitely... None of us ever did this, but you ever remember being like at like a GP or an Open, and you're just like, you know, looking around and you just hear like some random talking to the person who like, you know, is manning the booth and is like, look, okay, real talk. If I don't day 2 with Affinity, I'm selling the entire deck.
Mm-hmm.
And like, they would just sell their entire deck.
Oh yeah, go right to the vendors.
Here, how much will you give me for Affinity?
Right.
And it's just like, why are you like rage making horrible decisions? Like, Affinity won this tournament. It is not Affinity's fault.
Right.
Like, this is a bad choice. And they're just like, it's dead to me. And it's like, okay. It
did me dirty.
It did me wrong. I don't want to do it anymore. And it's like, okay. Seems like a bit of a stretch, but okay.
Yep.
Yeah, like you don't get those anymore. Usually people at local game stores don't nuke their entire deck after like a bad F&M.
Well, I mean, there's a few times where I've seen a deck launched across the room.
Yeah, I've heard stories. I've not seen that personally.
I'm pretty sure Salty Seth launched his deck across the room. One FNM.
We definitely had so I'm sure you guys have seen it's a skit. It's a guy, I don't know what his name is, playing Magic, and he like flips the table.
Yeah.
Right? That apparently happened before my time at our old store.
Was it a similarly shaped man?
Yes.
Okay.
So before like Planeswalker points, they did like an ELO system. And you had to have a certain like ranking to like qualify for things. And you know, if you lost to some random, like your like ELO got crushed.
Yeah.
Right? And like lost to some random and like flipped the table in the middle of the shop.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, like you don't get those things on Arena, man. At least you can't see them.
That's true. Maybe your opponent roping you is because he flipped his table.
I definitely was comboing people out and getting roped, and I'm like, yep, that's what's happening. Like, also, Arena is so unfriendly to, like, repetitive combos.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Magic Online is also, though.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I need to
But at least
cast...
you can yield to the triggers in Moto.
Yeah, well, or, you know, like, just use your time.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to, like, you're casting, like, your, oh, God, what's his name? Your Sararak, and then all of a sudden, like, the rope starts burning, and you can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I've got to, like, audible into, like, another way of comboing.
Yeah.
To the point, like, I would go down the wrong dungeon for the combo, and go down the one that lets you, like, scry and draw cards.
Yeah.
So I could, like, find a way to what's it called? To like win another way. I'm like, oh god, I'm not going to be able to do this. I need to draw some cards so I can find what I need.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, come on, Arena, stop.
Yep.
But yeah, like you don't get to just look at someone and go like, I get to do this forever.
Right.
I have demonstrated
I've demonstrated a loop.
This loop will stop with 20 goblins and you dead.
That's right.
Are we good? Excellent.
Yep, we're good.
We are good. We can stop now. But yeah, it's like I don't know if going to whatever the next weird incarnation of Magic Fest or GP or whatever it is. Magicon, whatever it is. Like
Mythic
how that
Con.
Yeah, how that will be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is it going to have the same vibe? Like, can I trick Anthony to get on a plane and fly somewhere?
Probably not unless you're planning on playing Commander.
Maybe. I don't know. If he has blue-white spirits, he could play that in Pioneer. He'd be a happy man.
Well, no, I meant because you're probably going to have a lot better luck finding a Commander game then.
I would hope that they would still do side events.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. Hey, you are talking to someone who owns one Commander deck.
Oh, yeah?
I haven't opened it, but for Christmas, I got asked what I wanted, and so I bought whatever that blue-green Commander Legends Commander deck is with like slightly better Tatiova. EC?
Yeah.
I have that Commander deck sitting on my shelf. I already have some ideas for changes and upgrades that I wanted to do because it was a deck I got Anthony, and I was like was working on things to do with it, and but I'm just like, so I have one. If like the world goes all crazy, I can put a trop in it and feel like I did it.
In a Mox Diamond.
Are you trying to beat me with your wallet? I am. Is it working?
I just want to play Legacy and you people won't let me, so this is what you get.
Yeah, that's what you get. You get my Legacy cards
in your
format. Let's go.
Yep.
Why is there a Dark Depths? Shut up. Don't ask
I know
questions.
It's not good in Commander, but it's what I do, so leave me alone.
I'm going to tap this Dark Depths, this Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, and this other land and remove one ice counter from my Dark Depths. Let's go.
Yep.
This is what I do. Don't judge me. But yeah, so I have one Commander deck if things go sideways.
I think the first Commander deck I ever built was Sidisi Brood Tyrant, like Zombie Tribal. And my project this weekend was I went through, and it was a lot of work for somebody that is very unfamiliar with graphic design, but I deconstructed the double feature frames from like the terrible quality images that are on the internet of the double feature cards and made that whole deck in the double feature frame.
Man, going deep.
Yeah. It actually came out kind of cool, but it was a lot of work.
Look at all these skills you're developing.
I know, right? Oh, I definitely would not call this a skill.
Hey, man. It's how it starts, and then eventually you're just like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
I have a skill. This is pretty all right. Look at this thing I couldn't do before that now I can do.
I sent you a sample.
I see here. Now, I don't... See, you sent me Archghoul of Thraben in the double feature frame. And, like, isn't that card just going to, like, be in the double feature frame?
It is, except I redid the art because the art was super grainy and, like, poorly done.
Okay.
Here, let me find you a different one. How about...
So you're just going to have the casual try hard back on them?
Yeah. Yep.
And just like, here you go. Here's my commander deck. I want the stupid, what is he called? The guy who, like, the mythic from this set that, like, puts lands into play and lets you draw cards.
Oh, yeah. Cultivator Colossus?
Yeah. But it's like $35. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No, not for, like, a commander deck I may never play.
Right.
Also, random thoughts I had today. Oh, here we go. Oh. Gravecrawler, fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at you.
Look at me.
Yeah.
It's like I know what I'm doing or something.
So, the historic ban list, how, like, comical do some of those cards look on that ban list compared to some of the garbage we play against?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's to be believed, but Saffron Olive is convinced that they're going to start unbanning cards on the modern ban list because of how, like, ridiculous they are.
On the modern ban list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, some of the cards he's like, oh, they're going to get rid of card. Like, they're going to take Glimpse of Nature off. And I'm like, probably not, but...
Yeah, I don't know about that.
But, like, only one deck plays it, and that deck's not good. Like, is the deck good with it? But I was like, what are cards you can buy to take advantage of this? I don't know why I thought of this.
Ooh.
Like,
okay.
But I was like, like Punishing Fire.
Yeah, I mean, that was a comment, though, wasn't it? I don't know that there's a whole lot of advantage to be gained there.
Fair. I don't know how much they are. It was an uncommon.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how much they are either.
29 cents according to, what's it called?
Yeah, and I guess it was really just a one printing, right? So maybe they go
in
up to
Zendikar. You're talking to someone who bought
$12 Inquisitions.
No, I bought every Sword of the Meek in Thopter Foundry.
Yeah.
For like 25 cents a piece. And I like looked at the guy and he's like, why are you buying these? This is a pet card. I said, when they're unbanned, they're going to be $5. And they were all $5. And I got rid of all of them. I mean, think about like Burning Tree. Not Burning Tree, I'm saying. Bloodbraid Elf.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
Yep, same deal.
And like you can't tell me that Punishing Fire is too good for Modern.
No, definitely not.
It's not. But
I mean, did you see Thraben U's latest video? Like, it's not even good enough for lands anymore.
Oh yeah, they don't play it in lands. They haven't played it in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like why bother?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but just like I was like, oh, what? Like thinking about like old Modern and like it's like, oh, you can't unban Golgari Grave Troll. I'm like, fine. I'm not gonna like have that fight, but like
everything eats your graveyard.
Yeah, there's endurance. There's everyone's playing like main deck. What are they called? Soul Guide Lantern.
Yeah.
Right. Like, no, there's not just unmolested graveyards hanging out.
Right.
Right. Like, we all thought that it'd be unthinkable to unban Stoneforge Mystic. And like, it's good.
And Jace.
Jace is not good in the current format.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just like, oh. So real quick, speaking of bans and like unbans and controlling a format.
Yeah.
There was one thing that like I think someone put up in the Discord today. I think
Brad posted it.
And that was that Wizards in Gavin Verhey's Good Morning Magic. One, admitted to the fact they have no idea what's going on in Pauper.
Basically.
Yeah, to the surprise of no one. I would hazard to guess, like, if you polled most of the Magic community, they would say most of the people making decisions about formats have no idea what's going on in the formats.
Yeah.
It's like, excuse me, you're Legacy expert. When is the last time you played a game of Legacy and weren't monkeyed? Could monkey be a problem? Oh, no, it's a fair and balanced card. Try again.
Is Modern Horizons 2 still in print? Then it's fine.
It's fine. Perfectly fine. But they announced the Pauper format panel.
Yeah, is that what it is? The PFP? I couldn't remember
so,
what
yeah.
it was called when I was making the notes.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's Pauper format panel. That's what comes up in Google as I type it.
Okay.
So, yes, announcing the Pauper format panel. And basically, this is almost a fully external from Wizards committee of 6 content creators of varying size.
Right.
And Gavin.
To be fair, though, like, I don't follow
Pauper.
These content creators, so I don't know like how prevalent they are in the community.
Yeah,
it's just people that we had never heard of. So.
Never ever heard of, right? I asked how many downloads on the podcast we have to get before I can be part of the historic format, the arena format panel, the AFP. Like when can they start taking my input there? But
that's right.
So they have 6 people, a combination of streamers, which I just thought it was so funny that like most of the people were streamers. It's like Wizards can't get out of their own way. Like, they have to stream, right? Like, streaming's cool, right? Bro, streaming gets beans. So we got to get streamers in on this? Bro, streamers beans. Okay. Right. Yeah. But it was streamers and then a couple people that primarily write articles. And then, like I said, Gavin. And so they're going to, like, meet and discuss the format and talk about what needs to be changed. And then Gavin will take that list of suggestions to play design / the people with the banhammer.
Right.
And be like, hey, we think these cards need to get banned. And he's pretty sure the people that have the banhammer are going to go, sounds good. Okay. He's like, I assume most of the time they will just go along with whatever we suggest. Right. Which also leads to the like awkward thing of when the whole panel's like, it's gots to go. And they're just like, no. And then like the like weird subtweets of, like from the panel members, like, I really feel as though this card is egregious. We await the decisions of play design or whatever. Right.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's okay. Like, or just like, you know, pictures of the card with like the dog on fire meme.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, just like, oh yeah, it's fine. It's fine. So they're going to meet and discuss the Pauper format and like kind of how to steward it, because basically Pauper is a blind spot for Wizards.
I mean, that's what Gavin said.
Yeah, is basically we don't have anyone with expertise in Pauper.
I mean, I would make the argument that there's not really anybody doing that anywhere, but
in any format.
Yeah,
I think part of the problem is, and this has been like something that's been talked about, is that
I mean, we've talked about it.
But once you go inside the building, right? Like, you can't participate in competitive Magic anymore.
Right.
Or, like, you know, not that you can participate in competitive Magic now. But you weren't allowed to participate in competitive Magic. So, like, the people that went into Wizards ended up playing a lot of, like, Commander.
Yeah.
And, like, more casual formats.
Games.
Right? Because they, like, why am I going to grind modern leagues, right? So like, so I think that there is like a hole where like it's people that don't understand the formats as well as they should making these decisions. Like, you know, for as many people complain about Legacy, the fact that nothing has happened,
right,
is just wild.
Like, I mean, people have been boycotting events and nothing has happened.
Yeah, it's just like, but again, Modern Horizons is in print. Like, I don't know how long did it take them to ban, gosh, what's his name? Red and Six.
Way too long.
In Legacy.
Yeah.
Like, but anyway, so as opposed to letting, like, you know, Chatterstorm, which we knew from the day it was printed, was going to be banned in Pauper.
Yeah.
Like, run rampant over the format for like 4 months. They're just going to get rid of, like, they're going to have people that can be like, yo, no, this can't be here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, I played like 6 Pauper leagues in the last 3 days, and all I played against was Chatterstorm. Can we not?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, good point. Like, okay, like, what about everyone else? Oh, all I've done is play against Chatterstorm. Okay, we should probably ban Chatterstorm.
Yeah.
Cool. Or, you know, I don't know what cards you ban in Affinity to make it not 20% of the metagame. But, so, they're going to have this group of external people that are going to serve as, like, an advisory committee to make the format more enjoyable, better, and a lot of them in their little, like, interviews that they did kind of talked about wanting to make sure that the format was stewarded and was healthy and strong going forward.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, that's not something we often hear talk about as, like, hey, we want the format to be super great and awesome for, you know, people to play in 6 years.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, hopefully this idea for Pauper works and they develop something similar for Legacy.
So, like, that was kind of the part of this that I wanted to touch on. And okay. I think based on what you have said thus far, we're going to have differing opinions here.
Okay.
There have been multiple people I have seen demanding this for other formats, for Legacy and Modern and whatever. I get that people want to have, like, their favorite format be, you know, happy and healthy and, you know, free of whatever oppressive cards Wizards decides to print or whatever. And I get that there's like a finite amount of resources that Wizards can put into like playtesting for all the different formats. And I understand what you just said about like the people that they have playtesting kind of automatically start deviating from competitive play as soon as they walk in the building. But that's also Wizards' job. And, like, I highly doubt that these Pauper format panel people are getting compensated for the work they're doing to maintain the format. Like, I mean, that's Wizards' job, is to make cards that make a healthy format. Stop printing garbage cards.
Fair. I am with you there. But, one, I agree they should be compensated. I
mean, I'm just assuming they're not being.
Oh no, I agree. I agree that this. I guess if you're a content creator, you're getting paid in exposure, which does not keep the lights on.
That is correct.
But, if there were people willing to volunteer, like, if this goes well, and Pauper is a better format because of this panel.
Yeah.
Right? We have two options for, like, I think that, you know, as much as it pains us, right, Legacy, I think, is moving into, like, the realm of vintage.
Yeah.
where it is a casual niche format.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Something old timers gather around with a bottle of scotch and
Yeah, and play. And like, that if you're playing it at your like LGS, like you get a crowd because you've got $6,000 worth of mana base on the table.
right.
Right? But right, like you want these formats to be taken care of. And I think that Pauper and Legacy to some degree. Well, Pauper was a community-created format, much like Commander.
It was.
Legacy is a Wizards-created format that they have
been abandoned.
They have orphaned.
Yeah.
Right, that format is gone. Like Wizards is modern forward, is where Wizards' focus is.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, but there's people even demanding this for Modern though.
Well, I mean,
they want an outside group that will, come together and discuss health of the format and propose bans for Modern also.
There is nothing stopping them. It does not mean Wizards has to listen to them.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but
right,
I think that's kind of the point though, is that there's some expectation of being listened to with this.
Yeah.
Some legitimacy.
So what I would say is people are dumb.
Yeah.
And that you could say, like, I feel like Wizards can't abdicate managing what is effectively their quote unquote like premier non-rotating format.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, especially something that they're actively designing products solely for.
Yes, that they're actively monetizing.
Yeah.
But they are not actively monetizing Pauper. Right.
For now.
For now. Like,
you just wait, Pauper players, till Wizards gets their grubby little mitts into you too.
Pauper Horizons, it's just a $10 pack of all commons. They just have no rarities. It's just 15 cards with the black symbol on it.
Secret Lair, the Pauper format, and it's every Pauper deck.
There you go. For $45. Just all of them.
Yep.
Right. But, like, I don't think that Wizards is going to pay any attention to Legacy.
Yeah.
And so, if you want Legacy to be managed, you can have someone is going to have to do it. I mean, the Commander people, like, they get way too much crap.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially on, like, social media, right? But at the same time, right, at least it's, like, a player-run thing that they're trying to make the format better.
Yeah.
And you may not agree with their decisions, but they're trying, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a feeling that there's not a lot of trying from Wizards on Pauper and Legacy.
Right.
And, like, this could be a model for, again, those, like, orphaned formats. Where, like, Vintage has, like, the Vintage Council. And they're
Does
like...
it?
No, but if they did, right? Like, you could see, like, for these formats that Wizards just doesn't pay any attention to.
Yeah.
That they're like, okay, we should probably do some stuff here. Because, like, who's their Legacy expert that's paying attention to Legacy?
Somebody that loves playing monkeys.
Apparently. Like, but you can't be... Like, you can't be a Legacy expert who knows enough about Legacy to, like, make ban decisions and also be meaningfully contributing on, like, 2 other formats.
True.
Right? Like, I know your job is Magic, but it's not like they give someone's job as, like, the person who watches Legacy. It's like, hey, you watch Legacy and you also playtest the standard cards and you're also tweaking the knobs on whatever 45 supplemental products are coming out this year. And, oh yeah, like, where are we at on, like, the health of Legacy? And it's like, dude, you don't pay me enough.
Right.
Like, I only have so much bandwidth.
Oh, yes, sublet it out to people you don't pay at all.
Yeah, I mean, this is the corporate way.
That's right. So there's one more part to my, I don't want to call it an argument, but my point of view, I guess.
Okay.
And I have a feeling that if this is the direction that things are going, where we're just going to end up with, a player run committee for every format that reports back to Wizards and then they take action accordingly, that we're kind of going to end up in the same place where video games ended up. And what I mean by that is, like, I mean, back in my day, like, there weren't pre-orders where you ordered like a game a year ahead of time and then were delivered a half completed video game that they're going to sell you 3 DLCs to get the full game. Like, the way the business model has evolved over time is that they, let the players be the playtesters, and, the expectation is that when a game ships, it's going to be buggy, and then you're going to have to buy 2 or 3 DLCs to get like a complete content of the video game. And I can definitely see that happening here, where, they get a committee set in place for Modern, Legacy, Pauper, whatever other formats, Pioneer, whatever formats that they don't have somebody actively looking out for. And then it doesn't matter what they print because the committee's going to tell them what to do about it. So they can just print a million busted cards all the time and wait a couple weeks and get input from, the various advocates for formats, and that's it.
Well, I mean, this is kind of the same argument that we've had with Alchemy, right? Where it's like, well, no one cares about Standard. People are only going to care about Alchemy. So that they can just be less careful because they can always fix it later.
Right.
My thought when you said like video games, and you have an interesting point, was what I called the Smash Brothers model, right? Where there are like giant Smash tournaments that are like all player run.
Yeah.
Right. Like, are we moving to a world where like there's going to be like a GoFundMe to like reserve a convention hall? And like
I don't know, call up Cedric and P. Sully, see what they have to say.
Yeah. But like my idea was more like, is just more along the lines of like, I agree that they're going to like might do a worse job of playtesting, but I think they're not doing a good job of that stuff anyway. And I know that like P. Sully be like, it's the hardest job. It's like, no, it's not. It's not the hardest job. First of all, deadliest catch, hardest job. But second, like, at least someone would be looking out for the format.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that we have to like, divide the formats on some level into like competitive and casual. And like Vintage and Legacy and Pauper survive purely based on community interest.
Yeah.
And nothing about what's going on from like the mothership, right? So like I would rather this kind of system that works for Pauper getting moved to Vintage and Legacy, but I wouldn't want to see it going forward because I think Modern Forward is our definition of competitive formats. And like the competitive formats should be run by Wizards. Now, I say competitive formats. I don't know what we're competing for. What's his name? Sir Mix-a-Lot told me the world would know. The world does not know. Right. So, but like, I think that, you can do a better job. Like 6 people who play 3 Legacy Leagues a week each know more about the format than whoever's making decisions about the format at Wizards. right? Speaking of a story, I remember outside of K&K, guy I'd never met before came and was talking to me. He's a guy I used to play, blah, blah, it's really good at Legacy, yada, yada, yada. It was talking about, like, Nimble Mongoose.
Yeah.
And how good Nimble Mongoose was. And how great Nimble Mongoose is. And I was just like, I don't have the heart to tell him that Nimble Mongoose is stone unplayable.
Unplayable.
Like, and this was like 2000, like 16, 17,
Yeah.
right? Before like current like crazy power. But
Right.
like, it's like, yeah, Nimble Mongoose is not a playable Magic card.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, yeah, that card doesn't really get played. It's kind of been replaced by like a, but why? Because it's not good enough anymore. And I feel like the legacy expert at Wizards is just like,
It's that guy.
yeah, it's Nimble Mongoose. Like that.
Yeah.
That's a powerful card. It's like no. So like it'd be much better to have someone like babysitting than no one. And like we are currently at like no one. But you are right. Like it is super crappy. Right? Like imagine if like baseball, just like every pitch that was thrown, you got to like get on your phone,
Pull the fans.
and vote if it was a ball or a strike.
Yeah.
Or like golf actually does this.
Oh, yeah?
In the golf rules, anyone can narc on you for making a rules mistake. At least it's how it used to be. So people have lost strokes and been disqualified because people watching the telecast would call in and be like, yeah, so-and-so did this thing on like hole 7. You're not allowed to do that. And they'd review the tape and like you keep your own score in golf. And if you sign an incorrect scorecard, you're DQ'd.
Huh.
And they're like, so a famous story, a guy was like wearing pants and like had to get on his knees to hit a shot. Right? He was in a bad lie and had to be on his knees to hit the shot. Well, he didn't want to kneel on the dirt in his pants. So he put down a towel. Well, putting down a towel is like called building a stand. Because like he was changing his footing or how he was positioning himself by putting down the towel. And technically that's a 1-stroke penalty. And completed the match, and was disqualified because someone at home called it in.
Huh.
Right? I don't know if they still allow this. They may have changed it. But this was a thing that happened for years and years. Right? But like, it is super shady that like Wizards is like, yeah, hey, unpaid, not even interns.
Right.
Can you like please do our job? And like, that's just not a good look.
Yeah.
But at least they're admitting we can't do our job. And hey, we might be wrong. They might all be getting like a check for $500
I hope they are.
for like every time they like meet, or like they get like $150 every time they meet or something. And it's like, we're going to meet once every 2 weeks and Wizards cuts them like $100 check each time. And the amount just keeps going down, right? But Wizards cuts them $100 check each time. And
I think you mean a $75 check each time.
$75 check each time.
Yeah.
One Wendy's coupon book with the free
tag for a free Frosty.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the Frosty coupon removed from the coupon book.
Oh no!
Yeah. But like, at least like, hopefully they're getting something for their time other than like exposure, right?
The expired entertainment book.
At 2020 Myrtle Beach entertainment book that you got from like a defunct Shoney's.
And all of the mini golf coupons are missing.
All of them. But hopefully they're getting something. But like, I think that making sure, like, we can't just have formats that people enjoy that no one's paying attention to as like
just rotting.
Yeah. And you said that like Wizards doesn't like, it's hard to playtest for stuff. Wizards has said that they only playtest for Standard. That they can't playtest for older formats. So, like, they playtest for Standard and, like, oops, it breaks another format. Oh, we just didn't never bother to look. Because we can't. Because, you know, there's 7 people or 8 people on play design. Right? There's 7 people, so they can't ever fire a full draft. Right? Right? Like, you just have someone, you have a bot. You have to, like, pull some random in out of the hallway.
Hey, you pick the 3rd card in every pack.
Exactly. It's like, hey, you're on the D&D team, right? Get in here. Just pick all the same
Everything
color.
with a picture with goblins.
Go. There aren't any. Too bad. But
well,
yeah,
don't
like,
pick in that pack.
You just pass it. But yeah, I just don't. I don't want to see like formats that people enjoy just rot.
Mm-hmm.
And this, while not a perfect solution, is better than format rot.
That's true.
Right? Like,
I guess like Legacy doesn't bother me as much as Modern did, and I saw people advocating for this for Modern. And I don't think that in a format where you're designing products for and directly monetizing, like, you can let this happen, because that's, like, I don't know. It seems lazy.
That saying we need a modern one of these things, right? A modern player panel or whatever, is saying we don't think Wizards knew what Modern Horizons 2 was going to do the format. I contend Wizards knew exactly what Modern Horizons 2 was going to do the format, and it did exactly what they thought it was going to do.
Sell a whole bunch of Modern Horizons 2?
Sell a whole bunch of Modern Horizons 2, right?
Yep.
Because the only way you can sell more Modern Horizons 2 packs than Modern Horizons 1 packs is to invalidate all the Modern Horizons 1 cards.
Right.
Or
reprint them. Oh, wait, they did that too.
Yeah. And invalidate 20 years of Magic's history.
Yeah.
Which they did, right? Like, I don't think anyone looked at Ragavan in development and was like, oh yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
No, they were like, oh yeah, that card is just a staple. It's like unbeatable if you get hit with it like twice.
Mm-hmm.
If you get hit with it once, you're losing. If you get hit with it a second time, you're done.
Right.
Why is my game done on turn 3? I'm at 16. Well, you see. Your opponent has ramped to 5 and drawn 2 cards off of your deck. You're done. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. I was unsure. So, like, they know what they're doing with the Modern Horizon sets. They know they're rotating Modern.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that want, like, Modern to go back to 2017, like, that's not going to happen.
Unbanned Twin. Which, again, another thing that is laughably banned. Yeah.
Like, on one hand, it's terrifying because you can play Teferi Time Raveler now.
True.
Right? But on the other hand, Solitude is a Magic card.
It is.
Like, all right, tap out for this. Cool. I will Force of Negation it. Okay. I will Pact of Negation it. Cool. Solitude, kill your guy.
Yep.
Oh. Bummer. Now I don't have 5 mana to pay for my Pact. Oh. So, right, like that's not ever going to come back. And I think that's why people would want, like, a Modern committee is like, I don't like all of these Modern Horizons 2 cards, you should ban them.
Like, yeah. And Wizards is definitely not going to do that.
Can't do that.
At least not till it's out of print.
Yeah. But, like, Legacy, like, they're not making the, like, I don't know how much of Ragavan's value is from Legacy, but it's not that much.
Yeah.
Just based on like how many people play Legacy.
True.
Right. So I think that like if it got banned in Legacy, like no one would notice. If that's what like the council said.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like the idea, but you are right. I don't like the idea of people working for free.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like a big corporation. It's like you have the money to pay people. You made like
all of that money that you pulled out of OP.
Yeah, you like it was like had like $1 billion in sales or something last quarter or last year or something absurd.
Yeah,
and it's like you have the money.
Get the players to do it.
Yeah, we'll get the players to do it. They can't complain to us. They're gonna complain. It's also brilliant, right? Like no one complains to Wizards when Commander's messed up. Right. They complain to the whatever they call the council, right? Commander Council. Rules Committee. That's right. So now if Pauper's messed up, they're just gonna like be like hate tweeting these poor people.
Yeah.
So it just takes the heat off of them.
Yeah.
All right, so we've been going forever now.
We have. We should probably wrap it up because we started late too.
We started late. It's after 11, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We've been going hard. So, if you would like to put James or I on some sort of council to make important decisions, preferably paid, you can let us know about these opportunities at CasualTryHard on Twitter.
Casual Tripod.
Casual Tripod. Dear God.
Yeah.
All of our sweet job offers are going somewhere else now. No.
You can also hit us up on Facebook at CasualTryHardMTG, or you can email us show@CasualTryHardMTG.com. If Brad, you want to hit us up in Discord and let us know what you think about this Pauper advisory group, or what'd you call it? The PFP, the Pauper format panel.
Pauper format panel, yes.
Hop in a Discord and let everybody know what your thoughts are. If any of you guys are looking to get into Discord, there's a link in the description. There's a link on all our social media. Come on in, join the conversation. If you guys want to support the show, you can use our TCG Player affiliate link to buy any singles or sealed product you're looking to. tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. Use that link. Head on over to TCG Player. Whatever you purchase will help support the show. And if you want to support us a little bit more directly, like very directly, you can head over to patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. Throw a couple bucks in the pot. You'll get access to our show notes. You'll get access to our pre-show. And you'll get put on my mailing list for when I have cool swag to send out to you guys. We appreciate all you patrons.
Yes,
you got anything else for tonight, or is that it?
That is it. As we can tell by my inability to say the our Twitter handle, it's getting late. So with that, we'll catch you on the internet.
We'll catch you on the internet.